Hello friends, welcome to another tutorial, and today we are going to learn and understand about another interesting topic which cover a very good weightage in both foundation and higher math and accompanying in all the major boards across the GCSE's examination, that is AQA, EdExcel, EduCast, OCR, etc. So let's start today's topic, which is indices. All right. Now, what is an indices? Okay. Now, see, before going into all those fancy terms about the law of indices, how to deal with the indices, we need to know a couple of very basic and important terminology. Those are the pars and the index. Okay. Now, what are index and what are pars? So, an index or a par, okay, is the small floating number that goes next to the number or the letter. Okay. Now, here you can see there is an example where you can see a number 2, which is in a bigger scale, and the number 4, which is on the smaller scale, and that number 4 is somewhere at the head or at the head of the 2. Okay, or you can say it's somewhere at floating at the head of that number 2, which is in bigger font or in bigger size. Okay, so we will say that 4, which is somewhere floating, or you can say which is stationed at the head of the 2, is called the index number. Okay, and the 2, which you can see in a bigger font, okay, that is called the base number. Okay, and thus the plural of the index is called indices. Okay, now indices shows how many times a number or a letter is multiplied by itself. Pretty straightforward. So when we say that 2, the base number, has an index of 4, it means that how many times 2 is multiplied by itself. So if you have 2 and in the power of 4, it means you are multiplying 2 4 times. That is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 2 raised to power 4. And you will simply times it and see what's the value you are getting. That is 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. So what does that mean? That suggests that the number 2, which is at base, and the number 4, which is at index, okay, it gives us a result of 16. Right? Okay, perfect. Now, similarly, that holds the same for an alphabet as well. Now, A and index 3, which means A is multiplied by itself 3 times. That means A times A times A, which is A and power index 3, or we can say A raised to power 3, or we can say A cubed. Okay, so that is basically basic understanding of what is an index, what is an indices, what is a par, or what is a base. Okay, now we will move on. We will start seeing some of the basic rule of indices. Okay, now the first rule is called the multiplication law of indices. Now, what does multiplication law says? Multiplication law says that if you are having the base number same with different index or different par, then in that case the par add with itself. Okay, now if you see, now what I mean, I will show you with an example. If you see, there is an example which is c power 3 and c power 2. Okay, now here, as I told you, what multiplication law says, it says that you can multiply two indices when the bases are same, irrespective of the par. Now here the bases are same, base are c on both the cases, c power 3 and c power 2. So if the bases are same, then only you can do the multiplication. So, but the par will add up. So c power 5 means c power 3 plus 2. That will give you c power 5. However, if you see, there is an example, d cubed times e power 2. This cannot be simplified. Why? This cannot be simplified because your bases are different. Here, your base in the first is d and the second is e. D and e both are different variable. Okay, so what does that mean? You cannot multiply these indices. Okay, again, you can only multiplication of indices only valid when the bases are same. If you have a different unidentical bases, in that condition you cannot apply the law of multiplication of indices. Okay, now moving on to the next, the law of division of indices. Now, what law of division? It says that you can, to divide two identical values or variable that are presented in the index form, subtract the par. Okay, simply, if, again, always remember the division as well only applies for the two indices whose basis remains the same, as we have seen in the multiplication. Only difference is, instead of times, there is a divide in between. Okay, and there is another major difference is in multiplication, you are adding the par. In here, you will take away the par. Okay, now if you see b power 5 divided by b power 3, simply what you need to do is that you have to take b and power 5 minus 3. 5 take away 3, so your answer will be b square or b power 2 or b base with having an index 2. Okay, that is called the division rule of indices. So what is the division rule? There are to apply the division rule, we have to always consider the fact that the bases should be the same and the par should always take away. If suppose the question would have been, let's say, b power 5 divided by a power 3, then you won't be able to do the question. You won't be able to solve it. Okay, perfect. Now we will see some question. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to share the whiteboard where we will see some questions. Now let's suppose you got a power 6 times b power 6, a power 7 times a power 1, and c power 5 times c power 2. Okay, this is multiplication of indices. So the first law, what first law says? The first law says that if the bases are same, then only the law of indices for multiplication applies. So what will be the answer? There won't be any change because your bases are different out here. It is A and it is B, both are different. So our answer remains the same. There won't be any change. Now, second question. Try to pause this video and try to see what you are getting. Right. So if you see in the second question, your bases are same, so law of indices for multiplication applies here. So you will keep the base as A and the power you will simply add. Okay, so that will give A power 8. Okay, now third, again you have the same base, so you can keep the bases as same, and power you will add, so your answer will be c power 7. So this is the answer. This is how you're gonna deal with the multiplication of indices by using multiplication law. All right, now let's see some division question. Let's say you got a raised to power 2, b raised to power 5 divided by a raised to power 1 and b raised to power 3. Now we will see how we will do this. So if you see what we have seen again, if you want to divide any two indices, your bases should be same. Okay, now if you see carefully, these two are same base and these two are same base. So what we are going to do is that we will group these two together. Okay, now so how we can write it as a raised to power 2 over a1 and b5 divided by b3. We haven't done any changes. We just group these two together, and in between you can just write it as times or multiply, because if there is no operator in between, then it means it's a multiplication. Okay, now simply apply the division rule. You will get a raised to power 2 minus 1 times b raised to power 5 minus 3, and that will give you a power 1 and b power 2. So our answer will be a indices or index 1 and b base and index 2. This is how we're gonna work out the question based on multiplication and division. All right, now we will move on to the next. Okay, so this is the law of division, as you can see in the screen. Okay, now let's move on to the raising a power to a power. Now if you see, let's suppose you have this is the next law of indices. Okay, we will see, we will directly try to understand this with a question. Okay, Now let's suppose this is called the power law. So let's suppose you got a power 3 and this bracket, and outside the bracket you have 2. That will turn out to be a power 3 times 2. That turn out to be a power 6. So what does that mean? If you have a raised to power n bracket m, that will give you a raised to power n times m, or a raised to power m times n. It does not matter. N times m is basically equals to m times n. Okay, this is the next law of indices, which is called the power law. Okay, right now right now there is another law which is called the power of 0, a very straightforward, and which says that anything raised to the power 0 is 1. Okay, the 10,000 raised to the power 0 is 1. Anything xyz raised to the power 0 is 1. All right, so the next law is the negative indices. Okay, now what is a negative indices? So the right, so what negative indices says? Negative indices says that if you have 1 over a power m, that is equals to a power minus m. What does that mean? If you have anything on the denominator, if you want to add it in the numerator, the power becomes negative. Okay, basically the idea is that the operator flips. If it would have been a power minus m, then it would have been a power plus m. So what does that mean? Or vice versa. If it would have been a power minus m, you can write it as 1 over a power m. If it would have been a power m, you will write it as 1 over a power m. What does that mean? That means that if you have any number or variable which has some operator in its index or power, if you want to flip it, means if you take a reciprocal of that base, then its power of the sign or the operator of its power changes. The positive become negative and the negative becomes positive. Okay, this is called the negative index. So let's suppose you have a question 2 raised to power minus 3 you need to do. So what you will do, you will rewrite it as 1 over 2 raised to power 3, because if you have any base which has a power of negative, then you can take this base as a reciprocal, means you can take it in the denominator and flip this operator, this negative, and it will become positive 3. This is how you're gonna deal with these type of question. All right, okay, so that is called the negative indices. Okay, right now we will see some question. Okay, let's suppose you have got 8 power 1 over 3. Okay, now you need to know few of the law of surds. Okay, now we have already done one tutorial on surd. You can go back to my channel and you can see there is a tutorial which is already recorded for surd. Okay, So there are some law which we have to take the reference from cert. Okay, now in indices as well. So if you see 8 in this question, 8 power 1 over 3. Okay, now what you need to do is that you can rewrite 8 as what? So you got what? 8 raised to power 1 over 3. Okay, now you can rewrite as 8 as 2 power 3 times 1 over 3. So this will give you 2 power 3 over 3. That will give you 2. So our answer will be 2. Okay, now let's suppose you have another question which says that 8 power 2 over 3. Okay, now I will, so how you can rewrite? You can rewrite as 2 power 3 times 2 over 3. That will give you 2 power 6 over 3. That will give you 2 power 2. That will give you 4. So our answer is 4. Okay, so this was about basically all the major law of indices. Okay, let's take down another question. Okay, so let me share the whiteboard again. So let's suppose you have this question, 27 and power minus 2 over 3. Pause this video and pause this video and try to solve this question. It's pretty simple as we have done previously. Only change is that you have a negative sign in the power. Okay, now what you will do, we already know that if you have any negative sign on the power, you can rewrite it as reciprocal of that same base with a positive index. So we can rewrite it as 1 over 27 power positive 2 over 3. Okay, now the solution is pretty simple. You can rewrite it as 1 over 3 to the power 3 times 2 over 3. That will give you 1 over 3 to the power 6 over 3, and that will give you 1 over 3 to the power 2, and that will give you 1 over 9. And that's your answer for the question. Okay, right. So this is one more question. Right. Okay, so now we will pick out some of the question from the past paper and try to do that. Okay, now let's suppose let's take this question. Suppose you have 4 b squared c and cubed. Suppose you have to do. Pause this video and try to solve it. So here, what you need to do is that you need to use the law of indices for the bracket and the power, which we have seen. What it says, what that law says, that equals a raised to power m times n. So you just need to use this law. That's it. That's all you have to do. So just open this. Okay, so here, but the only difference is there are 4, B and C, 3 types of different, one is constant and 2 is variable. So you don't need to really worry about that. What you simply need to do, these 3 will times in the power for each of the terms. So that will gives you 4 power 3, b power 2 times 3, and c power 3. So this will give you 64, b power 6, c power 3, and that will be your answer. Okay, so this was one of the questions from the past paper, right? Okay, now I will here, let's do another question. So it is, this is also from the past paper, 5m squared n cubed times 3mn to the power 4, 3mn raised to the power 4. Try to pause this video and try to solve it. Right. Okay, now let's try to solve it. So here, if you see, it's a product, it's a multiplication. So what it comes to my mind for the first time when we saw this, when I see this question is, I need to use the multiplication law of indices. And what it says that a raised to power m times a raised to power n equals a raised to power m plus n. Now here, if you see, we just need to group it. Okay, m will group with m and n will group with n, and this is a constant will multiply by itself. Okay, there is no problem with the constant. So first what you will do, first you will write the constant. 5 times 3 is 15. Now m squared times m, it will be what? It will be m 2 plus 1, which is 3, and n cubed times n 4 means n raised to power 3 plus 4, which is 7, and this will be the final answer for this question, right? All right, perfect, very good. Okay, now we will move on to the next question. Okay, now we will try to see so you have 2 raised to power 9 times 2 raised to power minus 2 divided by 2 raised to power 4. Okay, now how we will do that? So if you see this question here, you have both two, you possibly have to use the 2 indices law. The one is law of multiplication and another is law of division. So let's start with the law of multiplication, means let's deal with the expression which is there in the numerator. Okay, now 2 raised to power 9 times 2 raised to power minus 2. Can I use the law of multiplication here? Yes, we can. Why? Because the bases are same. Okay, so 2 raised to power 9 plus and minus 2. So guys, remember, guys and girls, remember, this is very important. You may think that why we are doing negative. We are not doing negative, we are doing positive, but the individual operator for this 2 is negative, so plus and minus, so that will become minus. Okay, and the denominator will remain like that, so numerator will be 2 9 minus this over 2 power 4. This is 2 power 9 minus 2, 7, and divided by 2 power 4. It's not complete yet. Now you will simply use the law of division. What it says, if you have the same basis, then the power will subtract, means 7 take away 4, so that will be 2 power 3, and that will give you 8, and that will be our final answer. Okay, so that was another question on indices. Okay, now we will do a very kind of a different question. We will see that. So let's suppose you got P3 times P5 equals P12 times Py. Okay, now here it's a bit different question. Okay, you need to find out the value of y. Okay, let's see that. So first we will try to use the law of indices, negative multiplication rule. Simply we can write it as p power 8. Okay, p power 8. Right, now the next is p power 12 plus y. Okay, have a look and yeah. Okay, so now if you have understood this step, then you can see that p raised to power 8 equals p raised to power 12 plus y. Okay, now we have to be, now here we have to use another law. Okay, and that is if the bases are same, then the power are also same. Okay, so this is not the law of indices, this is a general mathematics. If the bases are same, then the power are also same. Maybe you can take a note of it. So bases are same, yes, bases are same means the power are same, means 8 is equals to 12 plus y. Okay, if you see it with a real life application, you will see that it holds true. Let's say 2 raised to power 2 will always be 2 raised to power 2. If the bases are same, then powers has to be same. 2 raised to power 2 is not equal to 2 raised to power 3. If the bases are same, power cannot be different. Power has to be the same. Okay, now simply here y will be what? 8 take away 12, which is minus 4. So our answer is y is negative 4. Okay, so this is how you are gonna deal with any sort of question in indices. Okay, right. Okay, reciprocal we have already done. Means reciprocal means you are just changing, flipping the numbers. Okay, so this is the basic understanding of indices. Okay, we have seen, so what we have learned today is we have learned all the law of indices. We have seen some of the important question which usually has come in, which came in some of the past paper. Okay, now if you have any further question or you think that this session was beneficial for you all, then don't hesitate to reach me out in the below email or phone number, and I will be happy to assist. I do private tuitions, any topic on the GCSE, math, science, English language and literature. Right? So let's wrap up the lesson for today, and happy learning, and I wish you all the best. Have a good day or good evening whenever at whatever time you are watching. All right, we'll see you on the next tutorial. Bye.